Welcome to another episode of Mike at the Museum. Hey, did you know that on July 4th, 1926, Centralia had a Battle of Broadway? Yeah, I know it sounds a little weird for little old Centralia, but we really did. Come on, let me tell you about it.
The information on this story comes from an article that was entitled The Way It Was, Early Century Centralia. It was written by a gentleman by the name of John Barker. So, Mr. Barker, thank you for this story. Okay, let me start off by saying that there may not be many people who know about this. I don't think it's ever shown up in a history book that I can remember, but I can tell you I had no idea and had never heard of this. So, let's get to the battle. Around 8:30 in the morning, July 4th, 1926, the Battle of Broadway took place. There was very few witnesses and it lasted only about an hour. Let's face it, at that time on a Sunday morning, most people were having breakfast or either getting ready for church or possibly at church. So the next part of this story kind of gives the big bang or the big punch of the story away, and that is what they really used as ammunition in the Battle of Broadway. Well, one word takes care of that: fireworks. The one thing you have to keep in mind with fireworks is that there is a difference between fireworks today and what you could buy in 1926. In today's world, especially here in the state of Illinois, if you want to buy a firework that's more than some kind of a fancy sparkler, you really have to go out of state because most true, or at least what we think of as fireworks, are pretty much banned here in the state of Illinois. In 1926, once again, that wasn't the case. There were all kinds of fireworks that you could buy and a lot of different stores that would sell them. In 1926, while there were several stores that did sell all kinds of fireworks here in Centralia, if you wanted to buy fireworks, there were really only two stores that you would go to, and it just so happens these two stores are a part of our Battle of Broadway story. The two I want to talk about are Bird Watson Drugstore, which is on the south side of Broadway next to the Illinois Central Tracks, and Pfaff's Drugstore. It was the first building west of the Langenfeld Hotel. Some of the fireworks these two stores sold were really powerful ones. Once again, I want to remind you there were not the kind of restrictions on what fireworks you could and could not sell back in 1926 compared to today. And yes, once again, fireworks back in 1926 were probably a lot more powerful than what we could even buy in today's world. There were what we call red devils. There were fireworks called torpedoes, all sizes of firecrackers up to 6 inches in length, skyrockets that were 2 inches in diameter, and Roman candles that were just over an inch in diameter. By the way, you could also get a little cap gun for a quarter. All right, so as we move closer to the start of the battle, let's set the scene. It's a little after 8 o'clock in the morning and the start of a beautiful day. Both drugstores were open and had lots of fireworks left. Now remember, that's not unusual for fireworks on the 4th of July to still be in stores for sale. Even does today, there are times where, say like Halloween, I'll go in on Halloween day or even the day after, see what kind of candies are still left and see what's going on sale. And yet some years you go into those same stores and even by Halloween, candy is completely gone. Very few people were downtown, and the streetcar tracks, yes, were still in place. And yes, Centralia had streetcars. The first streetcars here in Centralia were pulled by horses, and then around 1906 the streetcars became electric, and by 1926 the tracks the streetcars run on were still in the street, which do play a little part in our story here in just a moment. In this last part of the article, they do mention a couple of names of people that were involved, but I just wanted you to know that I will be switching those names just out of courtesy to the real people involved. The other thing I want you to know is a lot of what I'm going to tell you about in this story, I'm really just going to read from the article because going through the article, I just love the way that Mr. Barker wrote everything down and how he expressed everything. And I figured that if I can add something to make it better, it's time for me to keep my mouth shut and just read Mr. Barker's article to you the way it was originally written down. An automobile stopped across the street from Bird Watson, and 4 or 5 men about town got out and entered the store. Tom seemed to be in charge. They bought several armloads of Roman candles and big skyrockets. The other 4 or 5 fellows remained in the car and drove to Foff's drugstore with George in charge. They bought the same things at about the same amounts. Then, with the precision of an untrained, raw, not too steady recruits, both groups took their stations, one in front of Bird Watson and the other in front of Foff's. Each of the opposing forces placed skyrockets on the streetcar tracks facing the enemy. See, that's where the tracks come into play. I mean, let's face it, that little groove they have there for the track, that was a great place to put your skyrocket or your Roman candle or whatever you could anchor there. Okay, so you've waited long enough. Let's get to the battle. Tension filled the air. Both sides lit the fuses. As soon as the skyrockets on the tracks took off, another was replaced in its spot and lit. They did not rise very high in the air, maybe 10 feet at the most. Those fired west sometimes would go as far as Hickory Street, which is about a block farther west than Foff's drugstore was. Those fired east would go past Locust Street. Locust is the next street east from where Bird Watson was located. The Roman candles would just about reach each group. There wasn't much noise, which is probably why the battle continued for so long. Remember, this battle only lasted about an hour. Both stores sold out of ammunition, I mean fireworks, and the battle was almost finished due to the lack of firepower. Fireworks. When one of the skyrockets landed in an awning on the cigar store located at 110 East Broadway, which was right by Foff's drugstore. The awning caught fire. Now, it wasn't a big awning and probably wouldn't have amounted to too much except for Hawkeye. Hawkeye was the wooden Indian statue that was out in front of the store. He would go on to lose a little paint, but in the end, the fire department arrived in a hurry. The battle ended, the fire was extinguished, the Indian was saved, and about 8 to 10 battle weary but brave men went home to bed. Thus, the Battle of Broadway began and ended, but with only a couple of casualties, one being the awning that caught fire, and the other Hawkeye, who would go on to lose a little paint. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the Battle of Broadway. It's something that I never knew about until I actually found it in our archives and looked into it. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you like what you have heard, please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next episode of Mike at the Museum.